In May 2025, the Indian subcontinent was thrust into a sudden and unprecedented crisis, sending shockwaves across the region and the world. The trigger was a devastating terror attack in the picturesque town of Pahalgam, Kashmir, which left dozens dead and many more injured. The attack shattered the fragile calm in the region, and images of chaos and destruction quickly dominated global headlines. India immediately blamed Pakistan-based militant groups for orchestrating the assault, while Islamabad vehemently denied any involvement. The exchange of accusations was swift and fierce, and tensions between the two nuclear-armed neighbors soared to alarming levels. Both nations rapidly mobilized their militaries, putting troops on high alert along the volatile line of control. Tanks rumbled toward the border, and fighter jets took to the skies, raising fears of a catastrophic conflict that could engulf the entire subcontinent. Across India and Pakistan, anxious citizens gathered around televisions, watching the escalating rhetoric and troop movements with growing dread. International newsrooms scrambled to cover the unfolding crisis, while world leaders urgently discussed possible interventions to prevent disaster. India, under the leadership of Prime Minister Modi, announced the launch of Operation Sindoor, a bold military initiative signaling the country's readiness to retaliate decisively against any further aggression. Pakistan responded with stern warnings of a full-spectrum response, pointedly referencing its nuclear capabilities and making it clear that any escalation would be met with overwhelming force. The standoff quickly became the most serious confrontation between the two countries since the Kargil War of 1999. Every military maneuver, every diplomatic statement was scrutinized for signs that war might be imminent. As May drew to a close, the crisis reached its peak. The world held its breath, hoping that diplomacy and cooler heads would prevail before the situation spiraled out of control. It was in this tense and uncertain atmosphere that a controversial narrative of de-escalation would soon emerge from the White House, setting the stage for a new chapter in the crisis. Enter former U.S. President Donald Trump, a leader never shy about taking center stage in moments of global tension. Trump boldly claimed he single-handedly averted a catastrophic nuclear war between India and Pakistan, stepping in when the world was holding its breath. According to Trump, the breakthrough came during a dramatic 5-hour intervention, which revolved around a tense and pivotal phone call with Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi. He recounted warning Modi in no uncertain terms that any further escalation would push the region to the brink of nuclear war, and even threatened to cut off lucrative U.S. trade deals if India didn't step back from the edge. Trump insisted that his forceful ultimatum left India with no choice but to back down within hours, diffusing a crisis that could have spiraled out of control. He also claimed that he applied similar pressure on Pakistan's leadership, making it clear that the United States would not tolerate further escalation from either side. Over the months that followed, Trump repeated this story more than 40 times, weaving it into his speeches and interviews as a central part of his public persona, a global peacemaker who could resolve even the most dangerous standoffs. The White House eagerly amplified the claim, with officials and supporters even suggesting that Trump's actions were so significant he deserved a Nobel Peace Prize for his efforts. Despite the lack of independent confirmation or evidence from other sources, Trump's narrative became a recurring theme in his campaign, shaping public perception and fueling his image as a master negotiator. The story, bold and dramatic, was carefully crafted to showcase his unique deal-making prowess on the world stage, reinforcing his reputation as a leader who could bring even the fiercest rivals to the negotiating table. Trump's alleged intervention relied on economic threats, not traditional diplomacy. He claimed the key was threatening crippling tariffs and halting all trade with India if hostilities continued. This approach, rooted in Trump's transactional worldview, prioritized economic pain over moral arguments. Trump often boasted of using tariffs to stop wars, seeing economic might as America's ultimate weapon. However, such tactics risk long-term resentment and can undermine trust with strategic partners like India. Forcing compliance through public threats can be seen as humiliating, potentially fueling nationalism and damaging alliances. The episode highlights the tension between short-term wins and the stability of long-term relationships in U.S. foreign policy. Trump's method, while dramatic, departs sharply from the multilateral, alliance-based diplomacy of previous administrations. India swiftly and categorically denied Trump's claims of a 5-hour breakthrough or U.S. mediation. Prime Minister Modi told Parliament that no foreign leader influenced India's military decisions. India's External Affairs Minister Jaishankar reinforced this, calling Trump's story baseless. According to India, de-escalation began when Pakistan's military reached out via hotline to propose a truce. India credits its own military resolve during Operation Sindoor for compelling Pakistan to seek a ceasefire. This narrative preserves India's image as a sovereign, decisive power acting in its own interests. The consistent high-level denial signals a deep disagreement with the American version of events. For India, the decision to de-escalate was made in New Delhi, not dictated from Washington. Trump's claimed intervention raises questions about the future of global diplomacy. If true, it suggests a single leader can override sovereign states' security decisions through economic threats. This challenges the post-WPI order built on multilateralism and collective action. Unilateral coercion can erode trust, strain alliances, and push partners like India to seek new alignments. If Trump's claims are exaggerated, the damage is different. It injects uncertainty and distrust into international relations. Publicly contradicting a U.S. president puts allies in awkward positions and creates unnecessary diplomatic friction. In either case, the episode highlights the fragility of trust and the dangers of a post-truth approach to diplomacy. The controversy complicates efforts to maintain global peace and stability. Trump's India-Pakistan claim fits a broader pattern of self-proclaimed peacemaking central to his political brand. He has repeatedly credited his personal negotiating style and economic threats for stopping multiple wars. Trump claims to have prevented as many as 7 conflicts, often through the threat of tariffs. Repetition of these stories is a deliberate strategy to cement his image as a powerful leader. However, foreign policy experts and international actors remain skeptical, noting a lack of evidence for many of his claims. The India-Pakistan episode stands out for the direct, public refutation by India, highlighting the clash between Trump's narrative and official diplomatic records. The pattern reveals the power and peril of political storytelling in shaping public perception. U.S. presidents have long intervened in global crises, shaping the world order through a blend of diplomacy, negotiation, and at times, force. Yet, Donald Trump's style marks a radical departure from the traditions and strategies of his predecessors, challenging the very norms that have guided American foreign policy for decades. Take, for example, John F. Kennedy's handling of the Cuban Missile Crisis. His approach was defined by patient, multilateral negotiation, secret back-channel communications, and a willingness to make concessions behind closed doors. Kennedy's careful balancing act helped avert nuclear war and set a standard for crisis management. Similarly, Richard Nixon's historic opening to China and Jimmy Carter's Camp David Accords with Egypt and Israel were the culmination of years of meticulous diplomacy, trust-building, and quiet persistence. These achievements were not the result of sudden ultimatums, but of patient engagement and respect for complex international dynamics. In stark contrast, Trump's approach is often unilateral and rapid, relying heavily on public economic threats and bold declarations. His style is less about building consensus and more about projecting strength and demanding immediate results. Where past presidents balanced pressure with incentives and showed respect for the sovereignty of other nations, Trump's narrative centers on dominance, transactional exchanges, and a demand for swift compliance. The art of the deal replaces the art of diplomacy. This style resembles a high-stakes boardroom negotiation more than the careful, nuanced statecraft that has traditionally defined the presidency. The focus shifts from building alliances to winning deals. As a result, short-term wins are often prioritized over the cultivation of lasting relationships and mutual understanding, sometimes leaving allies uncertain and adversaries emboldened. This shift redefines the U.S. president's role on the world stage, from patient facilitator and consensus builder to commanding dealmaker, intent on reshaping alliances and rewriting the rules of engagement. The contrast with history is stark, underscoring both the risks and the limitations of Trump's transactional diplomacy. As the world watches, the long-term consequences of this new approach remain uncertain, raising questions about America's future role in global leadership. The 2025 India-Pakistan crisis leaves 2 irreconcilable narratives: Trump's dramatic intervention and India's firm denial. Assessing credibility is difficult in a post-truth era where facts compete with political messaging. Trump's claim lacks independent evidence and is contradicted by India, a key U.S. partner. India's account, involving the established DGMO hotline and its own military resolve, fits long-standing diplomatic practice. The real significance may not be which story is true but what the episode reveals about modern diplomacy. Competing narratives shape global perceptions and complicate international cooperation. The clash highlights the fragility of trust and the importance of credibility in world affairs. In a world of self-serving stories, shared reality is the most fragile currency of diplomacy. The episode is a stark reminder: in international relations, trust and truth are more vital and vulnerable than ever.